In just 9 minutes, discover the 10 most revealing takeaways from LGBTQ plus activist Zander Moricz's explosive debate with 25 conservatives on Jubilee Surrounded. From why schools erase queer voices to the truth behind pronouns, family, and gender, this video dives deep into the political, cultural, and generational clashes shaping today's biggest culture wars. If you're here for real talk and raw perspectives, this one's for you. Takeaway 1. LGBTQ plus identity challenges conservative values. Zander Moricz, a young LGBTQ plus activist, repeatedly faced pushback from conservative participants when discussing his identity, rights, and lived experience. Many conservatives in the panel questioned not just his political positions, but the legitimacy of his identity itself, framing it as a lifestyle or political ideology rather than a real and personal experience. Zander responded by stressing that for him, being gay is not a debate topic but simply who he is. He made a point that people like him do not wake up and choose their orientation or identity just to make a political statement. He said, "You think my existence is political? That's your problem, not mine." For example, he talked about being banned from speaking about his own experience in school due to Florida's laws, which made it illegal to discuss sexual orientation in many educational settings. Now let's move to the next takeaway. Takeaway 2. Conservatives view LGBTQ plus progress as overreach. Many of the conservative participants expressed the idea that LGBTQ plus activism has gone too far and is now infringing upon the rights of others, especially parents. They argued that society is being forced to accept and promote ideas that go against their moral or religious beliefs. One woman said, "We used to say live and let live. Now I feel like I'm being told how to live." This reflects a shift in the conversation from tolerance to perceived coercion. For example, a conservative father in the panel said he was worried about teachers encouraging his daughter to explore new identities without parental knowledge or consent. Now let's move to the next takeaway. Takeaway 3. LGBTQ plus youth face erasure in schools. Zander brought attention to the reality that LGBTQ plus youth are often made invisible in school settings, especially in conservative states. He explained that students like him are not allowed to discuss their experiences openly, and some teachers are afraid to even acknowledge LGBTQ plus students due to laws that threaten their jobs. He described how his own graduation speech had to be changed to avoid using the word gay, and how he used metaphors about curly hair to get his message across. For example, he said, "They tried to silence me, so I talked about hair instead of who I am, but everyone understood what I meant." This shows how censorship affects young people in personal and lasting ways. Now let's move to the next takeaway. Takeaway 4. Conservatives fear loss of traditional family roles. A repeated concern among conservatives in the discussion was the idea that changing gender roles and family structures are breaking down society. Several participants voiced that they see the nuclear family as the foundation of a stable culture, and anything that challenges that is dangerous. A man said, "You take away mother and father, you get chaos." Zander pushed back, saying many LGBTQ plus people come from broken homes, not because of their identity, but because their families rejected them. For example, he talked about his friend who was kicked out at 17 after coming out and now has to live in a shelter. This highlighted the cost of holding on to rigid family definitions. Now let's move to the next takeaway. Takeaway 5. Pronouns and identity spark intense conflict. The debate over pronouns became one of the most emotionally charged parts of the conversation. Conservatives framed the use of preferred pronouns as forced speech or as confusing for children. One woman said, "I'm not going to lie and call a boy a girl." Zander countered that respecting someone's pronouns is not lying, it's being kind. He explained that names and pronouns are part of human dignity and that refusing them causes real harm. For example, he told a story about a trans student who dropped out of school after teachers kept misgendering them, even after multiple requests to stop. We're halfway through the video. Thanks for sticking with us. If you're enjoying it, hit the thumbs up and share it in your WhatsApp groups. If you'd like to support us, please tap the thanks button below. It helps us keep making great content. Drop a comment and don't forget to hit subscribe for more. Now let's continue with the video. Takeaway 6. Youth activism clashes with conservative authority. Zander's presence on the panel challenged a deep discomfort among older conservatives who viewed his activism as immature or disrespectful. He was accused of being too emotional, dramatic, or brainwashed by liberal institutions. Some called him a victim of indoctrination, while he argued that he was standing up for truth based on lived reality. He said, "If you spent one day in my shoes, you wouldn't last an hour." This generational divide reflected a broader cultural gap between Gen Z and older Americans. For example, when he referenced the Stonewall riots and historical LGBTQ+ struggles, some panelists appeared unaware of what he was talking about, showing how different generations have very different starting points in these debates. Now let's move to the next takeaway. Takeaway 7, morality means different things to different sides. A key source of tension was the idea of morality. Conservatives saw their stance as protecting moral truth, especially religious truth, while Zander saw their morality as a mask for exclusion and harm. He pointed out that many of the laws being pushed in conservative states are not neutral, but explicitly target LGBTQ+ people. For example, he mentioned how some school boards are banning rainbow flags and pride stickers while allowing religious symbols. One woman responded, "Well, our country was built on Christian values," showing how her idea of fairness was based on her faith. Zander argued that in a country with many religions and beliefs, government policies must be neutral and inclusive, not faith-based. Now let's move to the next takeaway. Takeaway 8, many conservatives see gender as fixed. Gender was another key issue, and many conservatives on the panel were adamant that it is binary and biological. They rejected the idea that gender could be fluid or based on self-identification. One man said, "You're either XX or XY, that's science." Zander challenged this by pointing out that gender is not the same as sex, and that even biological sex is more complex than many people realize. He brought up intersex people as an example that challenges the binary view. He said, "You want things to be simple, but people aren't simple." For example, he explained how doctors used to perform surgeries on intersex babies to force them into a male or female category without their consent, just to make things easier for adults. Now let's move to the next takeaway. Takeaway 9, both sides feel silenced and misunderstood. One of the most revealing aspects of the debate was how both sides felt like victims. Conservatives felt that their opinions are no longer welcome in mainstream culture, while Zander described growing up feeling erased and unsafe in his own community. There was a sense of deep mutual distrust. A woman said, "You can't even say anything now without being called a bigot," while Zander replied, "You think I'm calling you names. I'm calling out systems that hurt people like me." This back and forth showed that beyond facts and data, both sides are dealing with emotional wounds and fear. For example, a teacher in the audience said she was scared to call students by the wrong name and lose her job, while Zander said he was scared to walk through school hallways alone. Now let's move to the last takeaway. Takeaway 10. Cultural change creates deep identity anxiety. In the end, the discussion revealed how rapidly changing cultural norms are creating anxiety on both sides. Conservatives feel like the world they knew is vanishing, while young LGBTQ+ people feel like they are still not safe in the world that is emerging. Zander's story is about someone trying to make space for himself in a culture that often tells him he does not belong. The conservatives, in turn, are trying to hold on to a culture that feels familiar, stable, and moral to them. This creates a powerful emotional clash. For example, one panelist said she was terrified that her children would grow up in a world where gender and family are no longer clearly defined, while Zander said he's terrified they'll grow up in a world where kids like him are erased from textbooks. Thank you for watching. If you'd like to support this channel, hit the thanks button below. It really helps us keep going. If you enjoyed this summary, please leave a like and share it in your WhatsApp groups. To join discussion about this video, drop a comment below. And for more videos like this, hit the subscribe button below.